Okay, so first of all I'm going to start off with a white pastel pencil, and I'm going to sketch in the basic structure of the face. So getting the head in, getting the nose, the eyes, the mouth, the ear position, the hair positioning, along with the neck obviously, and a little bit of the shoulders. Then once I've done that, I'm going to use a very small palette knife. You could use a brush if you wanted to, black and white, to build up the contrast on the face in kind of jagged sections. So they're following the ideas of that earlier planes of the face, but it's a little bit more becoming more complex in the shape of each individual plane. Okay, so I've got the basics down, now I'm just going to go in and refine that. And look at that arch over the nose. So you can see that this side is dropping slightly lower than this side. Also you see the ball of the nose at the end. And how you get the side nostril coming up into that arc of the ball of the nose. You also have that happening over here slightly. Now because of the shortening, you're getting a smaller section underneath the nose, and a bigger example of the upper lip shape. And then you're getting the shadow underneath that bottom lip, rather than the actual shadow shape of that lip. Now, because it's getting a little bit messy with having quite a few lines, I'm just taking a rubber and I'm removing anything that's not quite in the right place. It's not the perfect shape, it's just a starting off point. But any guidelines or anything like that you're not happy with, you can just take a rubber and lift it out, because you drew a pastel pencil on acrylic chrome paper. It's easy enough done. Up and down to sides, also with this position, you're getting a lot of shadow underneath here because of the foreshortening. So it's going to look a little bit strange until you do that drawing section and get the colours down. I'm going to come up into the eyes, and I'm looking at the relationship of the eyes with that top of the nose. I'm also can see the cheeks jutting out into the eye shape. So I'm getting an arc. You can see that section of the drop where the eye socket is, and then how the eyebrow sweeps up and round into it. It's all going to be painted over anyway, so you don't have to worry too much about absolute perfect drawing. You want some good bare bones to work up from. Take your rubber, clean out any guidelines. Don't want. That nostril a little bit more, but I'll do it with paint. Slice on either side. Coming into the eyebrow shape. Just widening up brow section. Okay, that's not bad. It's a bare starting point to work from. Okay, take out any excess you don't want, so you don't get any cross-contamination. Okay, so I've poured out some fresh white and some fresh black. If you're just doing this following after the last process, you may find that you need to top up your white because you usually get through it with the softer lighter tones. We've got very hard darks and some beautiful soft lighter tones and some lovely greys as well. Remember, the idea of this is that you're using this background colour for the really hard dark places, so you're trying to leave parts of the paper for the dark shadows. Now I'm going to use a palette knife to apply the paint. I don't particularly love palette knife painting, but I'll show you how to do it. You can use a brush if you want to. I'd recommend going for something that's a chisel head, so some kind of flat head brush. The size of the brush depends on how big you're working. This is an A4 picture, and this brush that I've got here is a number 6 by Royal and Lanical. And I paint quite frequently with this on this scale, which I like. Now I'm going to use the brush to mix my tones because I find it easier to get those particularly softer tones of grey using a brush. The smaller amounts of paint that you require, it's just personally I find it easier. If you find it easy doing a palette knife, you're most welcome to do so. So I'm going to take some white and I'm going to lay in a very soft grey. Now with this, I don't really want anything really white. It's going to be too harsh. It's all going to have to be some tone of grey. And this will teach you to colour mix very delicately and sensitively. Right, I'm getting a really nice soft light tone of grey. Okay. Now I'm going to look at putting those in my lightest areas. If I'm looking at this picture, the lightest areas, if we just work from the top down, okay, it'd be easier. You can see just over here between the brow, because it comes out, and remember we were talking about those planes and how light hits the different planes. You usually get a little bit of highlight across here. Depends on the haircut, obviously, and how big your monster eyebrows are, but you are looking at a soft tone here. You're also looking at down here, tip of the nose, to have quite a lovely soft tone. And on this point, because the head is looking up towards the light source, you're getting it on the top of the cheekbones. So remember that these are sockets, they're going to be darker. You've got the section underneath the nose, which is going to be darker, and you've got the top lip, which is going to be darker. This means that your light source also needs to come on this bottom lip, just radiating along this top section. And because it's arched up, you're getting the part of the chin that's sticking out towards the light also being highlighted. That's before we even look at the ears, and you can see certain parts of the ears where they're sitting on the edge. Anything that's coming out towards the light will be bouncing it back. Okay, and then the hair as well, but we'll deal with the hair last. We'll deal with the skin at the beginning, because the skin's the hardest point. Right, I'm going to pick some up on my brush. Didn't really mix enough by the looks of it, because this palette's dried out a little bit. It's trying to scrape it in, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to be really considerate about where I'm putting this mark. And it's about being as accurate as you can, getting it right first time. Okay, so I'd say it's around there. There's a little bit of light on here, but that's kind of it. You can, with the hand knife, it's kind of nice, you can scrape into it. Then I need a little bit on his nose, from how I was talking about his nose. Again, it's not all over, it's just a tip. We're kind of creating a patchwork on the face, being aware of the kind of contours. You can see here, because of the arc of the eyes, you're also getting a slight highlight. You can see a little bit on there, you see a little bit. It's incredibly fine though. This is when painting with a brush makes life a lot easier. And you can see the highlight just tapped in there. And you go on here as well, and it's because you've got the ball sitting in the socket and the skin's coming out at the base. You get that highlight in there, and at the moment he looks like he's put face cream on, but you know, we're going to build that up, so don't worry too much about it. I'm going to go slightly darker, so I'm just adding a little bit more black into that mix. Okay, I'm going to have a tissue to wipe my palette knife off with, like so, and I'm going to pick up this slightly darker grey, and again working from the top down. Right, so after laying down and getting to quite darks, you'll find that you need to go back in with some lighter tones, because you'll see how dark that you might have gone in some areas that you want it to be lighter. For instance, the contrast you can see around the nose, I've lost it. So I do need to come back in and exaggerate a few lighter tones. Not easy with a palette knife. Far easier with a paintbrush. But this is about building coordination, observation and tonal understanding. It's not supposed to be easy. Up again. It's amazing with palette knife how much paint you get through. It's incredibly dark underneath the jawline, but it's not pure dark, so be careful about going pure black at any point. Think about how you're holding the palette knife and the types of marks you're getting. How confident are you? Into it quite really well. Scrape it up. a bit here and there to exaggerate shadow on the face. Okay, now you could go a bit darker around the eyes, but really mine's getting a bit overworked. So it's getting a little bit muckier than I want it to be. I'm going to stop there.